Hello, beautiful alchemist. Happy May. I am posting this video a few days early so that we can be prepared for the energies that this beautiful month is inviting us into and with. So, again, happy May. My name is Yolanda. I go by the Energetic Alchemist because I love to explore all facets of energetic alchemy that point to the truth of our human nature and design. You can learn more about me and my work at my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. But for now, let's talk about this journey, this life, the way we're living it in 2026. We had a lot of fiery energy spark off in the month of April. It was the time of the spring equinox. The sun moved into Aries, and there were several planets that entered Aries, and it was just a very fiery energy. So, before we move into the energy of May, I always like to reflect a little bit on what we've just grown through because a lot of times we don't acknowledge just exactly what we've been through, what we've accomplished, what we've learned, what we've overcome, what we are still learning and growing through. And so it just seems like life is moving so quickly. And for a lot of us, it can just feel like time is just passing by. However, there is so much being accomplished, there is so much being experienced, but we have to pause and have those moments of presence to even reflect and really tune into what has my experience been? What is it now? So I would recommend, giving yourself some time to really reflect on what you learned, how you explored, what came up for you in the month of April. Was there anything that was very fiery for you, whether in your feeling or experience? Did you have anything where you were inspired to maybe try some new things? Did you feel any spark of audacity in this last month? Make note of it for yourself. Now, the interesting thing, I always think based on astrology, the order of the signs and the elements that they are related to really give us a nice pattern, because I am very airy, so to speak. I am an Aquarius, I'm Aquarius rising. Um, Actually, my chart is pretty balanced with all of the elements, but I would say in behavior and pattern, I tend to lean more into air. And so I really do have an appreciation for the way that the seasons highlight different energies and elements for us because it also reminds me to practice being in relationship to all of the elements for my own personal balance. So I say that to say in fire season, Aries, the cardinal fire that's like the strike of the match, I really did have a lot of reflection on my relationship to just fire energy and the people in my life who are very fiery in nature. I thought about what I admire about them, what I may find challenging about them, and what I can learn through my exchange and engagement with them. And then last month did feel very, I want to say, initiating in a lot of ways. There was a lot that I chose to do to create significant change in my personal day to day and my own routine. In fact, I kind of threw a monkey wrench in it all and said, I'm going to stop all of my routines and anything that feels familiar and do things differently so that I don't become, it doesn't all become monotonous, but also that I don't just function mindlessly. Sometimes things become too familiar, and so we have to shake it up. So, anyway, it was a bit of discomfort for me. I created a small little flame for myself, like just sparking all over my life. And yeah, but I made it through to the other side. And with that, I am personally thankful that we're moving into Taurus season, which is earth and more grounding. So, after all that Aries, fiery, quick moving energy, we're then invited into Taurus to take a breath and slow down and ground and get comfortable. Now, this is more my speed. I love this too. So, this energy, as we move into May, we are in Taurus season. So, happy birthday to all of the beautiful bulls out there. Um, Taurus, like I said, it's earth, but it's fixed earth. It's like contained earth. And this is the kind of energy it is slower moving in that it's deep and grounded and more methodical. You know, a lot of people think of a big bull and you might think like lazy, but that's not really the case. It's just, it's more mindful. And I want to say it's not just moving and exerting energy mindlessly or for no reason. It's very deliberate about how it's using its energy. And we can learn a lot in this. And again, all that may have been inspired for you in April, things that you may have started or have been thinking about starting. Now, this energy is where we ground it into reality and can start to create some structure around things. And again, be more methodical in planning about how are we going to plant these seeds? How are we going to nurture these ideas? How are we going to build into these goals? So, again, how do you like this energy? Are you someone who likes earth energy? Even as I'm talking about it, how does that feel for you? I was just telling someone that I personally had to intentionally work on being in relationship to earth energy. Um, again, have more inclined to live in my head. So much so that I would bump into doorknobs and corners on uh, counters and all these things because I was just so in my head not paying attention to what I'm doing. I just bump into everything and have bruises all over the place. But when I got into this work, when I got into meditation, energy healing, and these things, as most of you know, you will hear about grounding and being grounded. And I got it in theory. Like I understood what they meant and how they described it, but it was something that was very challenging for me to actually experience and do. It was very hard for me to learn how to come out of my head and drop down into my body, just into feeling and grounding and being safe in body, calm in body, quiet in body, and not having to overthink anything. It was a challenge, but I finally got it. And once I did, I really appreciated it. So now my relationship to earth, to body, is much more, it's nicer than it used to be because I'm consciously aware of my relationship to that. So I say that to say, when we talk about these different energies every month, you know, hopefully you do reflect on what it mirrors for you, what it means for you and your overall experience. And hopefully it also helps you recognize what your own tendencies are, where you may want to work on some things, where you're transforming, and so on. And I will say, this month is going to offer all of us big, big opportunities for transformation, for change. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But on top of it being Earth and fixed Earth at that, Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so it's also this air of comfort and sensuality. So whenever I think of Taurus, I think of the pleasure that we get through the senses if we're mindful and grounded and present enough to really notice. And, you know, a lot of times we eat mindlessly. There may be something you love to eat, but you eat it so quickly and you're not really savoring it because you're talking, you're on the phone, you're not fully locked in just on the flavor of what is happening in your mouth while you're eating whatever it is. Taurus is that. It's the awareness of taste and texture. It's like so honed in, the awareness of the scent, awareness of how something feels in your hand. It's again, it's sensual, but the pleasure that we get to experience through our five senses that also require us to be very grounded and present in body to be grounded. Yeah. So I love that aspect of Taurus energy and what we can all learn from it in that way. But it's not just sensual pleasure. It's also very much concerned with what gives us a sense of safety, stability, security. So, this is the type of energy that also says to enjoy the comforts of life, we have to be financially responsible. So, this energy also points or highlights for us, what are we doing with our money? Like, how are we investing our money? Are we making our money make money for us? Like, what are we doing financially? And does it contribute to the long term of us feeling safe, secure? So, again, there's so much in every sign, in every energy, in the emanations of every planet that teach us so much. This is what Taurus in Taurus season is offering to all of us. So we have that Venusian energy, we have the Taurus energy, and yeah, it's like for all of us, just an invitation, kind of slow down. And even if that's not your inclination, if you are someone who is perhaps more fiery, all of this is like experiential. Give yourself an opportunity to see what it's like to ground, just like I did. We don't grow by just staying in what is familiar and comfortable to us. We grow by daring to stretch ourselves into the uncomfortable, into the unfamiliar, just to give us a different scope, a different lens, a different perspective. It helps to expand our consciousness and our overall experience of life. So, okay, Taurus, I am going to take you up on the offer to learn from the gifts of you. So, this month, after the bulk of the month will be in Taurus, later in the month, we move into Gemini season. But before we get into the different astrological events, we always look at the card of the month. If you have my deck, the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck, you would look at the major expressions section of the deck and get the card that is number 5. It is the teachings card. And you can see there are the alchemical symbols for all of the elements in the sky. You can see the great bright sun in the background, the woman who is the teacher, but she's the mediator between the realms, the spiritual and the material realm. She's standing in between these two pillars, and then you see the seeker sitting in front of her. The truth is, in the deck, in the cards, you are every character. So you are the teacher who is also the mediator between the realms. And at the same time, you are the seeker, you are the student, and you are an expression of all of these elements. Now, the gift of this card and what it points us to, especially this month, is awareness. Having an awareness of our relationship to the upper realms, the unseen, divine intelligence, but recognizing how it manifests itself here in the material realm. That awareness, that recognition also helps us to understand and experience what is always spoken of: oneness. Realizing that there is no separation between you and anything. You are one with cosmic, you are one with earth, you are one with all there is. But it's a state of mind. It's a matter of our perspective, a matter of awareness that we train ourselves, and we have different experiences that give us evidence of this. But then, we have to practice our practice. So the teacher in the teachings card could really represent the way that you educate yourself, the way that you personally practice, the way that you learn from others. But no matter where you get information from, and this is for all of us, we won't really have anything more than information. We won't really have wisdom and understanding until we practice and apply. So that's where we're like the teacher and the student. There are things that we are growing through that we get wisdom from that we can then share and pass on. But there are also things that we all humbly still need to understand and learn and evolve through. We have both going at the same time. So We learn through our direct experience, but we also have teachers, guides, guardians along the way that help us recognize our own connection to the upper realms. That gives us a different experience of living the expression of divine intelligence here on the earth plane. There's so many layers to this card, but if you have the deck, meditate on the card, or you can also look in the guidebook that comes with the deck. If you're watching on video, here is the guidebook that comes with the deck. It's so beautiful. It's unbelievable still. Even though this was all completed years ago, I'm still in awe of the deck. All right. So the teachings card is the card of the month. And as I mentioned, it is the number 5. In the system of numerology, 5 really points to change and freedom and unpredictability. Now, last month we were in a 4, but it was also very fiery that month. So it was a nice balance. It was like this energy of fire and Aries. But numerically, we had the number 4 that was like a reminder to not just be both feet on the ground, but also to create structure. Like, don't just let inspiration and fire run through you wildly. It's what we do with it that matters. And now, as we move into Taurus, which in of itself is very grounding and will help us to be more methodical in the plans of our creation, that 5 energy is going to say, but don't get stuck. Don't get too comfortable in those sensual pleasures. You still need to move. So there's time to sit and be receptive, and then there's time to act and do. There's always this dance of the feminine and the masculine. There's always this dance of the yin and the yang. So again, you can look at all of these elements and see what they whisper to you personally, how you personally are in relationship to these teachings, whether it's the number, the oracle card, whether it's the sign itself, the planet, whatever. What comes up for you and your awareness, even as you hear me saying these words, like what's coming to your mind? What aspects of your life are you being reminded of? And what about that? Is it for you to acknowledge? Is it for you to celebrate? Is it for you to transform? Is it for you to heal? What's coming up and why? I have to say, earlier when I was going through the deck to find this card, the song that popped in my head was what's it called? Father Figure by George Michael. Any of you remember that song? Anyway, maybe you do, but it's also a universal year 1. And so remember that a lot that we're growing through this year is helping us to come into right alignment and to come into right alignment for where we are at this juncture, at this stage of our own personal paths and journeys. We are outgrowing things. We are being challenged to step into higher frequency, into new experiences. We're all coming into new alignments on personal levels, but you can also see the change in the world that we're also aligning differently, even as a collective. But what is it that you are aligning to, attuning to at this point, and how can you further support that? Where are you perhaps clinging to the old, to the past, afraid to venture into the unknown? But even think about the relationship to that. A lot of times we say we want change. We're frustrated by the way things are. We want to have different experiences. We want to, we have goals, visions, dreams, whatever it may be. But then we also have to be willing to change. We also have to be willing to match the frequency of whatever it is we say we want to be in alignment with and to. So, what is your relationship to all of that as well? All right, now get out your ink pen. Let's talk about just a couple of notables for the month of May. As it comes to the astrology, I keep it very, very simple. However, if you want more detail about the astrology of the month, I highly recommend going to watch Astrology with Erin. Her podcast is on Awakening Airwaves. You can go on YouTube, type in Awakening Airwaves. You will find the podcast Astrology with Erin, Astrology for May. Or you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. Same thing. Go to Awakening Airwaves. There are a lot of amazing shows on there that all speak to our paths of energy work and spirituality. Multiple shows, but for astrology, you will find her there as well. All right. So, May 1st. Some people celebrate May 1st, the celebration of Beltane, and it is interesting because it really is a celebration of spring, welcoming spring. It's a return to light, to fire. The name in of itself, I want to say, I was going to say happy fire, but I think it means lucky fire, something like that. Like one of the translations of it is lucky fire. But there are traditions of people jumping over bonfires and doing these kinds of things for the celebration. But what is also interesting about it is it falls right between the summer, I mean, not summer, well, yes, the summer solstice and the spring equinox. So we just had the spring equinox, and then we have the summer solstice coming in June. And this is like that midway point between these two portals of transition from these two seasons that are, I feel like the seasonal shifts, the equinoxes and the solstices are just powerful points energetically for all of us. And this sits right between the two. So, this time of year is also thought to be where the veil is very thin on May 1st. Traditionally, the thin veil was to create like the ability to be in relationship between the human realm and the fairy realm. But, when the veil is thin, in any case, like even around Halloween, I always think of the veil being thin, being an opportunity for us to have more recognition of the different aspects of consciousness available to us. What are we able to perceive with more clarity? What are we aware of with more clarity? What are we able to tune into? What do we recognize that we're in communication with in this vast realm of consciousness? So that's what I think about in those in these kinds of energies when the veil is thin, but on top of it being May 1st and Beltane and, this celebration of lucky fire, I was also thinking about the maypole. You would see people dancing around the maypole with the ribbons. That's also representative of fertility. So the pole representing the masculine, but the flowers and the ribbons representing the feminine. And so there's a lot of energy still around fertility as we're still in spring. Spring is when, new life, new birth is happening. But the height of that light is in summer. But right now, it's like new life is all over the place within us, around us, and Earth herself. But on May 1st, we also have a full moon. Now, this is where it gets interesting because one, I tell you this every month, but when the moon is full, it is in the opposite sign of the sun. So you have this opposition. The sun will be in Taurus and the moon in her fullness will be in Scorpio. So there's this beautiful axis between the energies, the opposition between Taurus and Scorpio, both fixed signs. We have fixed water and fixed earth. But there's always a something we learn from both extremes. And then they're supposed to help us recognize the middle, the common ground, the unification. So, where Taurus is like very grounded, slow moving, more methodical, again, we don't want to get stuck in that energy. On the other side of the fence, we have Scorpio that is very destructive. It's intense energy and it's about transformation in a very deep way. So you have one energy that just wants to be grounded, relax, sink into the sensuality of it all. Then you have this other intense, deeply emotional, passionate energy that wants to shake everything up. But the middle ground there between the two is where the wisdom lies. So I always think of the full moons as these points, these portals of potential wisdom to be extracted for us to recognize, realize between the 2 points of opposition. So in this full moon in Scorpio, with Scorpio, the moon's fullness is shining a light on something within us. And there's this deep level transformation that is always available when Scorpio is on the scene. So the moon in this energy, I can't help but think of what's going to be revealed, what's in the shadow, what's in the underbelly that Scorpio is going to say, come with me down to feel in the depth of your being, not just for the sake of discomfort, but to help you reclaim your power. I mean, it's quite interesting. It's intense, as I said. But this energy, is about death and rebirth. It's about transformation. It's not going to avoid discomfort. It's going to say, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Absolutely, it should be, and it has to be, because there's something to be faced. There's something to be dealt with. There's something to discover, to reclaim yourself. This is very deep level healing whenever Scorpio's on the scene. And with the full moon, it just amplifies that even more. So, in this energy, I would say we can even give ourselves permission to be aware. Be aware of what does come up for us. Not to be shocked by it, not to avoid it, not to deny it, but to see it as an invitation of like, okay, well, maybe there's something I'm meant to know or understand. What is it? If I sit with this and allow myself to feel into this, where do I recognize the wisdom? What do I recognize in what I'm being um, given the opportunity to reclaim, to own, to take back within myself? What is being asked to be transformed? Now, that's on a personal level, but collectively, there may be things that are exposed. We may be, this could be a time where we find out something that we were unaware of as a collective. More information, more secrets revealed, this type of thing. But I always like to focus more on the personal level. So, really, really having some allowance of healing for the sake of our growth. And, again, this month we have the teachings card as like our guide. So, again, what are we being shown that's helping us to evolve on our path? What are we being shown to help us come deeper into that alignment, this universal 1 year? What are we being asked to attune to in a higher way? It's always about our elevation, it's always about our evolution. So, no matter what we become aware of, no matter what we are feeling through, what are you growing through? What are you growing through? Okay, so that's the full moon. And then a few days later, on May 6th, we have the planet Pluto that is going to be in Aquarius for a very long time. It is going to go retrograde on the 6th. It will be retrograde in Aquarius until October. Now we know whenever planets go retrograde, it's almost as if the energy is going inverted. Some people will say going backwards, but it's almost like it inverts in on itself. So instead of the expression just being outward, it becomes very inner directed. So it can be felt in a more palpable, intense, personalized way. Okay. So we know Pluto, again, is the planet of transformation. It is the modern ruler of Scorpio. This is the planet of death, rebirth, and rebirth. Death, life, death, rebirth. But with it being in Aquarius, there's going to be a focus on innovation, technology, the collective, us as a people. But again, what needs to transform or what is transforming in all of those arenas and sectors? So during this retrograde, on a collective level, we may really hear more about advancements or what's going to be changing even faster, I guess, in the realm of technology. Where are we going to be more innovative? Who is being more innovative? What does that look like? And what does it mean? But then again, on a personal level, how does that show up in your life? How are you being more innovative in your own life? If you want to know what area of life this shows up for you personally, look at your chart. If you look at your birth chart, it's a giant circle. And on the outer rim of that circle, it's called the cusp. You'll see lines that are the houses on the chart. On that outer rim, at every line for every house, there is a symbol for a sign. Where you see the symbol for Aquarius, that looks like two waves, one on top of the other, like electric currents or waves in an ocean, just two lines of waves. That is the house that this energy is showing up at in your life. So, where are you going through some deep level transformation where things may be more trying to push you ahead into the future, trying to help you to free yourself from the past? Where are you getting more future oriented in your life? Again, what is just transforming in a deep, deep way? Where is there more focus being put on the collective, the group? You know, how are we evolving as a society? How are we evolving again just in our personal lives? That can be very blanketed, of course, and vague. But again, if you look at your chart and see where Aquarius is on your chart, then you can see what area of life this hits for you personally. So, in all of this, I would say from now until October, while transformation again can be uncomfortable, it's not always pretty and it can be, a little sticky. What in the undercurrent of it all is bringing us all together? Even for the transformation you may be finding happening in your life personally, what about that may be bringing you into community? What about it may be showing you or teaching you the benefit of community and support in your life? Whether it's friendships, groups that you've chosen to be a part of, your actual neighborhood, your work environment, community can look like and mean a lot of different things for us. But how is this presenting itself for you? And how is it changing you? Or what changes are happening within the communities that you are a part of? Okay, don't forget again, this energy is retrograde until October 15th, so we have some time to explore it. Now, jumping ahead about 10 days, then we move into the new moon. And it's not just a new moon, it is a super moon. That just means the proximity of the moon, like it's closer to Earth than normal. If this were if this were a full super moon, the moon looks humongous because it's illuminated, but it's a new moon. So not really going to see much, but the moon is still close in proximity. So the energy, the essence of it is more potent, even though visibility wise, this isn't going to really matter. But this new moon, this super moon is in Taurus. So when the moon is new, it's like, first of all, the sun and moon are in the same sign. So we have some heightened Taurus energy here. And the new moon isn't necessarily when we take action, but it's when we plant the seeds that we're going to nurture. It's where we are allowing ourselves to even have the downloads of the visions, the what we can imagine, what we feel would be so wonderful to experience on our path. This is where we get very clear on all of that. And again, we plant the seeds. We may even have a plan for ourselves of what it is that we need to do, what we plan to do, what we plan to research, these sorts of things. Well, with this new moon being in Taurus, as I mentioned about Taurus before, this is a great time to really start planting seeds around our finances, our stability, and really giving ourselves an opportunity to check what it is that we value. What are we placing value in and on? In our life, our time, our energy, our money. What are you investing in? monetarily and just time wise, emotionally, what are you investing in? And does it speak to what it is that you are truly aligning to? So, in this new moon, have some focus on your stability, your comfort, your self worth, what that means to you, your finances. And of course, this is all pouring into how we grow. How we grow. Again, this is fixed earth energy. Taurus is fixed earth. The earth is where things grow. Okay. We plant the seeds in the earth for things to grow and we reap what we sow. So, what can you plant? What can you plan? What can you intend that is going to feed into your being successful? What is going to nourish you more, nurture you more? These are great things to even ask yourself in this energy. Reflect on it, journal about it, and then have just a few um, points of accountability for yourself. Remember, this energy isn't necessarily where we start taking the action, but it's where planning for it. So, what can you give yourself as a future goal or plan of action that is actually doable, something you'll actually follow through with? Good time to think about it. Consider the method of pouring into what you want to create and experience. Now, after all of this that we got to learn from Taurus, that we got to embody and feel and grow through, the sun is going to move into Gemini, and that happens on the 20th of May. Now, this is a very different energy. We're going from fixed earth, and now we're going into mutable air, which is changeable air. So, instead of just feeling so grounded, anchored, sensual, planning, money, this, Aries is, I'm not sorry, not Aries. Gemini is going to redirect our attention to coming back up into the head, the area I enjoy, but coming back up into our thoughts. And not just to think, but where Taurus was really trying to get us to feel into things, what feels right for us, what gives us a sense of feeling of safety and security. Gemini is going to bring some great ideas around this. This is going to spark the curiosity. This is the energy where now we start researching, we're reaching out, we're asking friends, what do you do? How do you invest? What are your plans? This is where we gather information and really allow our curiosity to guide us. There's no bad question in this energy. There's no stupid question in this energy. It's like get all the information so that we can then see what options are available to us. That's what this energy then kind of gets us out there to be social, to live a little more, to come out of our own comforts into the not necessarily to be uncomfortable, but just to explore, just to be curious, just to live, just to socialize, to ask questions, to learn. So at the end of the month, we shift into this energy, and it's also going to highlight, Gemini highlights the way that we communicate. The ask the right questions in this energy, right? Things that you've been wanting to ask but haven't, ask them. The things that you've been wanting to study, that you've wanted to research, you wanted to know more about, research it, do it, take the class, read the book. This energy is really going to help us accept and be guided by our own curiosities. And how does whatever it is that comes up for you that you're personally curious about, how is it an addition or add to the value that you realized about you and your path while we were in Taurus season? So, happy birthday to all the Geminis. We will talk more about you and your energy when we get into June. But the last event of May that I want to share with you is that we have a blue moon. Blue moons are rare, but what it is that we have two full moons in the same month. On May 1st, we started this month with the full moon in Scorpio. We started this month in a moon that said, let me show you what you need to transform. Let me show you what you're ready to release. Let me show you what you're holding in the underbelly, what you need to feel for the sake of reclaiming your power. That's a deep invitation, right? And then we go through the journey of May, and then on the very last day, the moon is full again, bringing a spotlight right back into our inner world again. But this time it's in Sagittarius. So where Scorpio took us to the depths of our feeling, and there was this potential of finding out what is hidden and being a little uncomfortable, and all for the sake of transformation and rebirth and reclaiming ourselves, the Sagittarius energy is going to illuminate within us in this full moon and say, now are you ready to go beyond where you've been before? Are you ready to be a little adventurous? Let's learn through experience. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Let's break out of here. Let's get out of all this serious, heavy energy. Let's explore. Let's allow ourselves to taste freedom, whatever that means for us as individuals. Allow ourselves to finally go after, to understand what is true. What is truth? What is the bigger truth? What does that even mean? Yeah. This is like expand your consciousness. And especially how we just moved into Gemini. Gemini is curious anyway. Gemini is like, give me the information. Let me talk to everyone. The Sagittarius full moon says, yes, but expand, go beyond that. Stop just having the conversations. Go have the experience. Go live it for yourself. And that's where you'll gain the wisdom, and that's where you'll understand. Again, the card for this month, teachings. Everything about this month is a great teacher. Everything about this month is trying to help us understand the bigger wisdom, the bigger truths, the bigger mystery of what it means to be you and the way you are living and cultivating and experiencing your life. How we're doing it as individuals, but also the implication of that and what it means in terms of how we're doing it as a collective. Ooh, what are we attuning to, friends? What are we learning through these energies? I would love to hear what comes up for you. In fact, you can actually come have conversations with me this month. Mark your calendar, okay? Let's do that. Mark your calendar right now. On the first Monday, which is May 4th, write it down, May 4th, you can come have a live conversation with me. You can also come have a live conversation with me on May 10th. I realize it's Mother's Day, but May 10th. So mark your calendar. Now, for the time and for the Zoom link, you have to download the Energetic Alchemist app. So come to the app. Just go to the App Store, go to the Apple App Store if you have an Apple, go to Google Play for Androids if you have an Android, and just type in the Energetic Alchemist. You'll see the app. It has my face on it, so you'll know you got the right one. And you just create your own profile on the app, and it's free. And once you download it, you can see how to join me for those activation circles. And if you know anyone who would also enjoy that is in this realm of energy work, Reiki, these sorts of things, you can tell them to download the app as well, and they can join us also. You can also send messages to me on the app, ask me questions there, but there's also more content there to support you on your path. I do readings on the app. If you have a free account on the app, I do weekly readings for the collective using the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck. If you want your own copy of this deck, here's the box right here. It's so beautiful. I really am proud of how it all turned out, but this is the deck. You can get it on my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. And Yeah, there's just so much content there for you on the app. So you have access to that. You also have the option of having a membership, a monthly membership on the app, and that just gives you access to more content. Plus, I do readings by sign. So you can watch the readings for your sun, moon, and rising signs. Yeah. So, a lot going on, a lot to share with you. If you are listening to this on a podcast, be sure to follow Reiki Radio on YouTube. You have no idea how much it helps us. Anyone who is sharing with you through a podcast, YouTube creation in any way, it helps us so much that you just take 1 second to follow, subscribe, like the content, leave a 5-star review, whatever it is. It really means a lot. And so I appreciate you for doing that. If you've done it, if you've not, if you can, I appreciate it. It really does help. And be sure to check out the ladies that are sharing content with you on Awakening Airwaves. Again, YouTube, your favorite podcast platform. Follow, share, like, all the things. We're all just trying to support community. We're all trying to support growth within the community in any ways that we can. And I and they, I know, really appreciate your support and appreciate you being here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you in one of the activation circles. Download the app right now. Have a beautiful month. And remember to always journey in love.